Welcome back to another episode of Nerds and Nonsense. We're going to be doing a reoccurring series with part of the podcast. So it's going to be what are we watching?
What are we watching?
So it could be from any streaming network, a movie we watched recently, like Black Adam. Watch our review. Regular TV, anything. There's a lot of TV shows out there on especially streaming networks that people watch and maybe hesitant on watching and not sure, I mean, we're not going to watch everything, but whatever we watch, we're probably going to recommend to you. There's like a lot of diverse stuff out there to watch. So
everything under the sun.
So I mean, like the Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, all that stuff has a lot of good stuff to watch. Documentaries, action movies, all kinds of stuff like that too, So
and I watch so many things; it's already kind of hard for me to kind of choose what I want to talk about.
Yeah,
I think we named a few, and there's already like 3 or 4 that are coming up off of my mind, off of Disney Plus and the others.
So we can recommend it throughout the weeks, but of course if the shows and stuff already came out and all that stuff like that, we're not going to try to be the first ones like, we have to watch that. No, just
we'll get to it.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like the good thing about streaming networks is that it's at your own leisure. You don't have to watch it at cable TV. It's out and be the first one to watch. Who really cares, right? So
I don't miss living my life in 30 to an hour segments.
I rather enjoy it more by just watching it at my leisure, at my pace. Just sitting there watching it at my own pace. So I'll start off right now. So.
Okay.
A movie I watched, I just remembered now, is it is on Hulu, and it's called Prey. Oh. And it's the new Predator movie.
Oh, cool, on Hulu.
Yes, and I think it's great.
Heard a lot of good things.
So, it's actually back in Native American Indian times, I'm just kind of giving the basic plot of it, not spoilers or anything, but a predator comes. When predators come to different planets, they look for hunting game, and so they're competing. They want to fight the best warriors and stuff like that, and kill for sport and all that kind of stuff. So it comes to Earth probably during Native American times, way longer ago. And then it comes here, and then the protagonist is a girl, and then she's trying to fight it off, and it seems kind of basic. There's no special kind of weapons used on the Native American side.
Yeah.
But it's kind of strategy and thinking more, and that's what made it really good.
Cool.
So I watched it. I really enjoyed
Especially against a predator. That's
exactly
terrifying.
Right. It's like it shows more of how to outwit it instead of try to outmuscle it.
Right.
So
right.
I think it's really good. If you have a chance, go check it out.
Okay.
It has action, it has blood and killing in it.
Actually, I haven't watched it yet, and I heard some really good things. Actually, one of my favorite shows on NPR, which is Pop Culture Happy Hour, they covered that one. And one of the cool things is the main actress is actually, she plays one of the main characters in Legion.
Okay.
So that's where I recognize the actress. It made me want to see the movie. I haven't gotten to see it yet.
And then she's she's part of she's actually Native American,
Native,
and not whitewashing, So
right.
I recommend that movie. It's really good. It's just an all around good action movie. Pretty good. Makes you actually think about outwitting your opponent and all that kind of stuff.
Like a smart action.
Yeah, not too much CGI, not too much things where you have to think too much. Yeah, just that's why it got such good reviews. So, cool. But how about you, Kamar? What have you been watching lately?
So I think one of my most recent ones that got me through Halloween weekend was a series. It's actually pretty new, by the director Guillermo del Toro, who's known for a variety of things. I think he directed Hellboy. He directed one of the sequels to Blade.
Pacific Rim, right? Was one of his too.
I'm not sure if he did that one, but he definitely did Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, that's
and he's known for doing these movies with amazing graphics, and they're really creepy as hell. The one with the fish guy.
Yeah.
I forget the name of that one, but that one. I think that movie got some awards.
Okay.
It's like a romance between a lady and a fish guy. But nonetheless, though, he did this series, a limited series that came out during Halloween called Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. It's funny because you see him in the series and you're like, this guy looks a whole lot like Alfred Hitchcock. He's not a skinny guy.
Yeah.
So, but it kind of gives you these feels of watching the Alfred Hitchcock show or the Twilight Zone, and it's a pretty cool thing to watch. And they have a variety of different unique stories that are freaky and weird and grotesque in their own ways. Just kind of creepy, almost watching. If you read the series, stories to tell in the dark as a kid. It kind of reminds you of that sort of thing.
Okay.
You get a collection of these freaky stories, and some of them aren't so freaky. Some of them are just kind of just weird. I watched that. I got a kick out of that. And each episode's a different director with a different script, a different style, a different set of characters. Often those with like really good actors. Like it's really high quality. Almost reminds you of watching Black Mirror, or I think Amazon had Herbert K. Dick's like Electric Dreams. It kind of reminds you of those types of series.
Gotcha. So another show I was watching was, a lot of people might know it, but House of the Dragon. So it's a spin-off of Game of Thrones, that was really popular.
Amazon Prime.
No, HBO Max.
Is that HBO Max?
It's HBO Max, yeah.
HBO Max, that makes sense.
So I know a lot of people loved Game of Thrones, but they didn't like how it ended, So this is pretty much a spin-off, probably pre-Game of Thrones, of course, so like hundreds of years before. It focuses pretty much on the House of Targaryen, which is the dragons. So cool, you can't go wrong with having dragons. That makes the story better, So of course it's kind of like
there's actual dragons.
Yeah, well, CGI dragons, of course.
Cool.
Yeah, so they actually have CGI dragons in there. How they came to power and all that kind of stuff, to the Iron Throne, get the claim to Iron Throne, of course. But there's also a power struggle, of course, when there's people comes into a family members and who gets the throne, this and all that kind of power and stuff. So I know some people might be hesitant on watching it, seeing how Game of Thrones ended, but this one I actually liked it. It's a good story plot. Characters evolving. How it all came to be and that kind of stuff. And I really enjoyed the end of season 1. So, of course, it's gonna start off kind of slow because there's character development and it shows you who it is and what the story is and all that stuff. And it's gonna get better too later on. When there's more infighting and stuff between the families and all that kind of stuff. But for everyone that might be hesitant on watching it, I recommend it.
And you could watch without knowing anything about Game of Thrones.
Since it's a prequel, I mean there are like other family members like the Starks and Baratheons that were in Game of Thrones, of course, but that's introduction to it. Yeah, so you can pretty much watch it. It's kind of like I wouldn't recommend you watch Better Call Saul first, but then you should watch. It is a prequel, right? But then like it leads into Breaking Bad, but of course watch Breaking Bad first and Better Call Saul, then you kind of understand. It's kind of better understanding. So, if you have the time, probably watch Game of Thrones first and then watch House of the Dragon, even though they're prequels. It's kind of funny, right? Watch out of order. But, it's kind of like more about those characters because it's a spin-off or the name of the characters in it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. Instead of you're kind of totally in the dark about it, then you kind of have a little bit more of understanding of it,
Okay.
So.
Well, I think that makes me change my number 2 I was going to talk about because one that I watched that was similar on Amazon Prime, which I probably started getting confused by, was Rings of Power, which falls into the Lord of the Rings.
I need to catch that too. So.
And that one was actually pretty good. And actually, you could watch it without knowing anything about the other Lord of the Rings series.
You know what? Because that probably could, because I forgot everything about it. It's been so long.
There's so much content. Yeah. It's impossible. Like you have to be a tape recorder. You have to literally be a tape recorder, and then no one's gonna be your friend because you're an object. But nonetheless, though, there's so much stuff in Lord of the Rings that you can actually watch the series. It has all the similar elements. It has an element of characters who are kind of like hobbits, but they're not hobbits. It has Galadriel. She's kind of the main character, who is this really powerful character who was in the very first movie that Peter Jackson did. And actually, the actress they had was kind of strikingly similar to Cate Blanchett, how they made her look, which I got a kick out of.
Okay.
And it was like a really well put together story, kind of following how her development was. And then, of course, you still have the same element of Sauron. Now, I can't tell you actually if it was a prequel or a sequel or what, because it was just such a different angle. I'd imagine that you could say it was a prequel, most likely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the characters were likable and relatable. The sets were amazing. The graphics were amazing. And the series wasn't too long. I think these days when you binge watch a series, you're not like, I got to power through 5 seasons. You're just, maybe it's several episodes long, and then you're pretty good. And then, probably it'll get renewed the next couple of years or so.
Okay, cool. That's good.
So it's very watchable.
Yeah, so that's going to add it to my list. So that's good. So yeah, that's good. Thanks for letting me know about that. Because then, Yeah, that's what I was worried about, watching that show and then like not remembering anything about Lord of the Rings, because I really don't. I just some of the characters, but the storyline, it was just so long ago, you know. So
yeah, gosh, we were like teenagers maybe when that came out. So
yeah, so one of the other shows I'm watching too is on Netflix is kind of like the renewal of Unsolved Mysteries.
Ooh.
And I before this new season came out, I just binge watched the heck out of all the original ones. Still gives me a chill down to this very day. You know?
Oh yeah.
It's they only have 3 episodes. Well, this season has 3 episodes. The next week has 3 episodes, and I think it's done now. Like it's only 9 episodes, but still has this creepy vibe to it. There's no narrator like Robert Stack or anything anymore, because it's kind of, maybe it's better that way. So you actually, they have like wording in the show and stuff, and then they actually have people in the show describe what happened. So that is kind of
like just like a documentary.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it tells you about like crime, murders that happen. There's stuff about UFOs. I kind of zone out for that one. It's kind of good. It's kind of boring, but there was a episode in.
Sounds like stuff for the History Channel.
Yeah, exactly. So like aliens, so it's like
did aliens build the pyramids?
Yeah, right. So but there was one episode, not in this recent season, but in the last one, it was about the after the tsunami in Japan, where people said they were seeing ghosts and stuff like that too. So that was interesting.
Cool. I was like, man, that's freaky.
Yeah, that was freaky, so there's ghosts of unsolved murders, all that kind of stuff, UFOs, all stuff. So like it's a good one just to watch if you're kind of in that stuff, and I love that kind of stuff. It really intrigues me, So that's
check it out.
Yeah, so it's newer, stories, so it keeps it going, which I like a lot. So
all right, cool. Well, I guess that kind of brings me into my next one, which is a bit more recent. And I think it was this Netflix. I'm trying to think if I bounced around correctly. I watched too much Netflix. I think today I've kind of gone from Netflix to Amazon Prime back to Netflix. Yeah. So there's this one that I just watched actually yesterday. It was pretty cool. Me being from San Diego, anything that's related to San Diego. And then it has bodybuilding and anything that has like bodybuilding, it's kind of cool, for me. And this is a series. It's actually, I try not to watch crime series. Unsolved Mysteries is always kind of famous because it has this kind of, oftentimes there's that crime aspect.
Yeah.
So I get off work and I'm just like, well, this has some bodybuilder lady in the picture and it's like super throwback 80s and it's called Killer Sally. So I decided, okay, I'll watch it. And actually, it's an interesting documentary that follows a tragic crime that happened in the 80s about a bodybuilder couple that have a really bad domestic dispute and it ends up in murder. But then you also get to know the kind of the interesting bodybuilder culture and some of the video sorts of muscle worship sort of angles and things that went on at the time back then. But then also just you get to see the fervor of muscle culture in the 1980s after Schwarzenegger does Pumping Iron and how you see all these women getting into bodybuilding, but then they don't care about being petite, whatever. They want to be real muscle, which is kind of cool because there's a series like She-Hulk that just came out. And you kind of get to see that in She-Hulk because she's having issues dating because there'd be guys who are into her strictly because she had muscle, and then after they hook up, then they're completely disinterested.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting because it explored those dynamics. It kind of explored, the fact that people get kind of roided out when they have too many roids.
Roid rage, right?
Roid rage. Yeah. It covers that topic a bit, and then it also even gets into what's really unique, especially for us in San Diego. We're a military town.
Yeah.
So you had these two military people, and you also kind of get to see the attitude between, two people who are a military couple and what went on with that, and kind of there's some very sad aspects to it, of course. And it really gives you a lot to think about psychologically when you think about your self-care and things like that. Yeah. But at the same time, it was just a really interesting blast from the past.
Okay.
And I just never thought I thought it was just going to be a random watch. I'm well, I'll turn this on. I might get bored. I might stop watching it. But then all these different local San Diego things popped up. All this military stuff popped up. All this bodybuilding stuff popped up. And it's just kind of a good kind of nostalgia. It made me think about the movie that had The Rock, watch our Black Adam episode, and Mark Wahlberg when they're talking
Pain and Gain.
Yeah, Pain and Gain. And it kind of brought back all those memories of that movie.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I was like, that's kind of weird. I actually got into that movie too,
So it's like watching a real life Pain and Gain. Yeah, it's more sad, but
when I opened up Netflix, that was on there. Okay, I like those things catch me, but One of the other things I was watching too was Dahmer, which is on Netflix
that's
too.
another throwback one.
So,
I'm not so sure on that one yet, but I'll hear from you.
Yeah, so it stars Evan Peters. I've pretty much known him from Kick-Ass, Quicksilver, and the Marvel movies. Kind of more of a goofy, fun character, but he plays more of a serious character in this one. And he rocked the shit in this one. I mean, he actually got in the zone of being a serial killer to portray this movie. Like I think there was like Jeremy Renner and some other people that played Dahmer before, and I think he looks most accurate. And I haven't seen the other ones, but I think he probably even goes down to his voice and like the way his mannerisms acts the best in it. Like I mean, there's
that's freaky,
some unpleasant scenes in the show. But I think he killed it, no pun intended, but
there's some unpleasant scenes in real life.
Yeah, and it's funny because when the show was on, people started watching the first episode, like, oh my God, it's so traumatizing. I don't know he did that. He did this stuff all in the 90s. It was all over the news.
I remember being a little kid in my grandma's house in the summertime in Ohio, and that's when they first announced that like the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer has been caught, and they found all these things in his refrigerator and his freezer, and that was
so it was graphic and stuff, but in a way I think they kind of toned it down enough where it wasn't like in a way where it's like traumatizing to you, like the stuff that he did, they mentioned in it, but not like in reference to like either like the Night Stalker documentary, they showed crime scene photos. That was more traumatizing to me.
Well, documentaries are bad. Yeah, in Killer Sally, they definitely show some crime scene photos, which are pretty.
Yeah.
But they don't actually show like the actual. They're respectful of the dead.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of blur things out and stuff like that. But this one was just kind of like a show that just kind of portrayed it in a way, not like that. I think it was done well. And made me want to do more research on it. Of course, like it's pretty accurate in what he did and all that stuff like that, the scenes and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was a good watch overall. So if you're kind of hesitant on it, give it a shot, because Evan Peters does a really good job of it.
Okay.
And then it's kind of true to the source and all that kind of stuff. And he did get killed in prison by another inmate.
Oh, did he?
They portrayed that as well. I mean, I don't know if this is spoilers.
How long is the series?
It was maybe about 6 or 7 episodes, not too long. Yeah, so it's
about, like beginning and over.
Yeah, pretty much early life kind of thing. How he developed these tendencies, where he grew up and all that stuff, and these urges. I think it's kind of like a way of saying like, if you have children or you're around certain people, like don't neglect them, and like don't push them away. Don't try to force them to be somebody else. That's the thing, just if they have a cry for help, go out and help them. Love your children, whoever they are, or your friends, respect them, whoever they are. Because then sometimes it's like, I'm not saying all people develop these, but then sometimes if it's not addressed or something like that, and then they're pushing away, they're hiding it, they develop these tendencies that will cause them to act out these kind of ways.
Honestly, like when you look at other creatures in the world, like I don't know about any other mammals that are just like have serial killers walking around.
Yeah.
So I really think for human beings, what we do, we make our own monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we have like a monster making factory out there, because it helps us get through wars or sell TVs.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think you're ever born one. It's like you develop it. Like it's your surroundings. Traumatizing events. All this kind of stuff that develops. Is like I don't think anyone's ever born a certain kind of way. It's
those sorts of these characters, we make them.
Yeah, exactly.
We make them,
it's a show that has like graphic parts, but probably not like anything squeamish, really. So it's like respectable in a kind of way. So I recommend that you guys check it out. But do you have another show that you want to watch?
We're aiming for 3, right?
Well, you can throw 4 in there if you want.
Well, okay.
I threw a 3.
The last one, because you mentioned that one, made me think of another. We're all on the morbid note now.
Yeah, right. It's like
so that made me think of this really good documentary series, really freaky, called "Don't Fuck with Cats."
Okay.
And "Don't Fuck with Cats" is this old series. It's not old. It's relatively recent. I think I watched it during quarantine.
Oh, is it what streaming network or
it's on Netflix.
Netflix, okay.
Yeah, Don't Fuck with Cats is on Netflix, and it's about this Canadian serial killer who first his targets start out with like cats, and he would do these awful things to cats, and he would post it up, and you had people who were cat lovers who came across it, and the cat lovers became the detectives, and that's the most interesting about this, a documentary, because you're watching these cat lovers who are just like they want justice for like what they're seeing this guy do. But the thing is, he keeps on doing it, and he starts to work up towards a human victim.
Oh.
And he's doing the same thing about posting a video, and like you find this really insanely horrible narcissistic guy, and you know their intel helps the police capture him.
Okay.
So it has a really happy ending, but it really makes you question when we are stuck in these social media systems, like and comment anyways, because we're not serial killers.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, though,
Good one.
it makes you ask, like, you know, who are you when you like and you comment and you feed on these certain things that you know that you're watching aren't good.
Yeah.
That you know that aren't good for anyone, that aren't good for the system, that you know are just like, you know, vile and toxic. Yeah. It makes you really ask that question at the end. I thought that was pretty powerful.
Oh, that's good.
So you know what? It's voting season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you going to vote for people who actually help people, or are you going to vote for people who talk trash and like, you know, hurt people?
Yeah.
You know. So it's a thing. Like, you know, let's really think about who we support.
Yeah.
And that's don't fuck with cats is about that.
You know? I gotta put that on my list too, man.
Don't support people who fuck with cats.
Yeah. Yeah. So. So this is probably going to be an ongoing series. You know, there's so much stuff to watch. We like to tell people what we're watching. Of course, you know, around the water cooler kind of thing. You know, because you're always in for a good watch.
We were aiming for 3, we got to 4, and I had like 5 in the back.
It's open. Save it for next time, right? You know, we're always recommending to the general audience. You know, we're always watching good stuff. You know, so. Let us know what you're watching. You know, give us some recommendations if you can. You know, so you know, thanks again for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. You know, thanks for nerding out to our nonsense.
Thanks, folks.
Yeah, and then we'll see you guys in the next video. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.